Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this one, I'm going to go over 3 tight ends that I think have a great shot at breaking out in 2025. These are all guys being drafted outside of the top 8 at the position, and guys that I think have a really great opportunity to really crack into that top 5 and be real difference makers for us this season. These are all guys that I find myself drafting a decent amount in drafts, and guys that I highly recommend you take a look at too. These are players that haven't necessarily put together a full season of being dominant just yet, but they're guys that I really think have a chance to do that, and I think this is a great opportunity to get in on them before they have that breakout campaign. So if you guys disagree with me, let me know in the comments. If there are any tight ends I didn't mention, feel free to let me know. And yeah, it's really fun interacting with you guys there, and looking forward to it. So let's get into it right here. So you guys probably saw this one coming, but I had to include Tyler Warren on this list. It just wouldn't be a tight end hype video for me this season without talking about Tyler Warren. I truly believe he is the most talented tight end that came out of this NFL draft. He was clearly drafted to be great. He was taken with the 14th overall pick by the Indianapolis Colts. Second tight end off the board. The Bears, in my mind, made a mistake taking Colston Loveland over him. Nothing against Loveland. I just think Warren's a more complete tight end. But the benefit here for Tyler Warren is he's entering an offense with really no clear alpha. There's a really great opportunity here for Tyler Warren to come in and just be the number one target for either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. That's a really great opportunity there. What you typically want to see for a tight end, generally it's with tight ends, what you want to see if you want to see any sort of upside is you need them to be a top 2 target in their offense. So that's why you have guys like Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle. You know that all 3 of those players are going to be either the number 1 or number 2 target in their offense. Most of those guys will be the number 1. You could maybe argue Kittle ends up number 2 behind McCaffrey maybe, but in general, if you want a guy to be a superstar at the tight end position, he probably needs to be the number 1 target in his offense. And if you want them to be very good, you need them to be the number 2. There is a clear opportunity here for Tyler Warren to come in and immediately be the number 1 target. On top of that, just by being a tight end, he's a little bit more quarterback proof just because you're going to operate a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. Tyler Warren is fantastic after the catch, so that's great for him. And I think that we sort of saw the same mold happen with Brock Bowers last year. He was drafted 13th overall, so basically the same thing. Drafted to a team with really no plan at quarterback. He was playing with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell all season, and he was able to put up a fantastic season just because he's really that good, and there wasn't a whole lot of target competition outside of him. It was basically him and Jacoby Myers. So I think Jacoby Myers and Josh Downs are pretty fairly in the same realm, same tier of player. And then Tyler Warren, if he comes in, and I'm not saying he's Brock Bowers, right? But I do think he's an incredibly talented player. I think he has that kind of upside built into him because I really do think he's that good. If he ends up being as good as Brock Bowers, there's no reason he can't be a top 3 or 4 tight end this season. And the situation, obviously, it's not ideal, but it's not something that should really scare you either because even though there's not a whole lot of quarterback play, there's sort of offset a little bit by the lack of target competition. So I'm a big fan of Warren. I'm finding myself drafting him pretty much everywhere. He's a tight end 11 off boards right now, so you might as well be free. You can take him as the last team in your league to draft a tight end, and if you do that, I think Tyler Warren probably has the most upside of any tight end being drafted outside the top 3, or at least you could argue that. I don't know that anybody you could realistically project any tight end to crack into that Bowers, McBride, or Kittle tier, but I think if someone was going to, I think Tyler Warren's should have got as good of a shot as anybody. At his current cost, I'm taking him just about every single time, and I do highly recommend that you guys do as well. Next up, it's going to be my first time talking about Njoku this season, but I did feel like David Njoku actually has a pretty great opportunity to break out this season. I think he, along with the Cleveland Browns in general, I understand that they're a horrendous offense, going to be a horrendous team, so obviously it makes sense that these guys are flying under the radar, but I think David Njoku is kind of sneaky in terms of what the upside that he presents is. You could maybe argue that he broke out in 2013. He had a magnificent back half of the year. He did that with Joe Flacco under center as well, which, if you guys haven't really been following the offseason, there's at least a chance that Joe Flacco opens the season as starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. At least right now, it sort of sounds like he's the front runner. We'll see how long that lasts. I think we'll probably see several quarterbacks this season for Cleveland, but there's at least a chance that we get a full season of Joe Flacco, and in that scenario, I think we would see a ton of production for David Njoku. But even still, it's fair to expect Cleveland to throw the ball a ton. They're going to be down. They're going to be losing in most of their games. It's going to require them to air it out and try and come back. They don't really have a running game. They tried to address it with a second-round draft pick of Quinshon Judkins. He's already been arrested due to a domestic violence charge. Horrible stuff. I don't want to get into that too much, but the point is it's fair to assume that Judkins is not going to be a massive contributor. He's got to deal with his legal stuff before he can deal with being a contributor in the NFL. So you can't really expect this team to suddenly be much better at running the football, and they threw the ball 661 times last season. It's like 38.5 pass attempts a game. That's good for number one in the entire league, and newsflash, they didn't really have a whole lot of good quarterback play last year either, so having poor quarterback play, it's not going to stop them from just airing the ball out a ton. On top of that, not a huge deal, but he has the third easiest strength of schedule for a tight end across the entire league. That's based off of average fantasy points per game given up to the position by their opponents last year. So again, a lot of turnover there. It's not a perfect metric, but like there is at least a chance that he's got a fantastic schedule here and will be honestly, he's got a shot to be the number one target in this offense. I know Jerry Jeudy sort of broke out last season. I know we like Cedric Tillman a little bit, but I mean, there's a clear path here towards him being the number one target in the pass happiest team in the NFL, with a really easy schedule for the tight end position. So it's really tough to look at all those things together and say there's not a lot of ceiling. The touchdown upside, that's certainly going to be limited, but like if this guy sees 130 targets with the athleticism he has and the yards after the catch ability, I think you could see David Njoku put up a 1,000-yard season, catch 80 passes, finish with 4 or 5 touchdowns, and that would be a fantastic season for the tight end position. That would give him, honestly, a really great shot at breaking into the top 3, and I think that's really in his range of outcomes. So I like Njoku quite a bit. As the tight end 9 off boards, I think you can't really go wrong there, and I do think there's a lot more upside beyond where he's being drafted right now. And the last tight end I'm going to talk about here is going to be Dalton Kincaid. I haven't really been super hot on Dalton Kincaid, but I'm coming around on him at least being a guy that we need to pay attention to. The argument for Kincaid here is kind of the exact same as it was heading into last season. He is a high draft capital tight end that has a chance to be the number one target for Josh Allen. Supposedly last year he dealt with knee and collarbone injuries, so it sounds like he sustained a collarbone injury in week 6 and then a knee injury in week 10. Didn't really miss any time, but you did notice the first 5 weeks of the year he was actually doing all right, and then he sort of fell off a cliff. Maybe that collarbone injury played a role. Just watching him play last season as well, he actually looked really good to me as a rookie, and then last year he just didn't look like the same player. So at least the eye test sort of proves what we saw, or sort of confirms what these injury reports are. So if you want to bet on him returning to form, there's actually a lot of upside baked in here. He's currently being drafted as the tight end 13, so might as well be free if you're in a 12-team league. He's not being drafted to be a starter. We've seen tight ends succeed with Josh Allen before. We've seen Dawson Knox, who's just a far worse passing talent or receiving game talent, be extremely fantasy relevant before. We know there's a ton of touchdown upside baked into anybody that's attached to Josh Allen. They don't really have a true red zone threat right now either. Keon Coleman is their big-bodied guy, but he's by no means like a superstar in the red zone. There's a chance that Kincaid could emerge as the number one target and the number one red zone target in this offense, and that's certainly upside worth at least considering as a tight end 13 off boards. On top of that, a tight end can just kind of be like a late blooming position. I know we've seen a lot of guys just come in and be fantastic immediately. You've got Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, so back-to-back years of rookie tight ends being the tight end 1, but typically you see the best year for a tight end. You see that breakout age typically be the age 25 or 26 season. We are entering the age 25 season for Dalton Kincaid. He's younger than I am, actually. He's about 2.5 months younger than I am. So there's just a lot of upside baked in here. It's unfair to sort of write Kincaid off because of a bit of a slow sophomore year. Typically, you don't see tight ends really put up big seasons until year 3, year 4. I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic here with Dalton Kincaid, and the opportunity is really there. So if he can just be as good as he was as a rookie, I think there's a lot of upside there, because as a rookie he was really good for fantasy, and there was still Stephon Diggs there commanding a really massive target share. If you could just have Dalton Kincaid be as good as he was as a rookie, which I think we should hope that he's better than he was then, there's a lot of upside there. So as the tight end 13 off boards, I'm more than okay with that, and I think he's definitely someone that we just need to keep an eye on because he's a little too cheap right now in my mind. So that'll do it for the breakout tight ends. Up next, I'm going to get into some mock drafts. I'll get into auction draft strategies, all sorts of more content to come up. We'll get into sleepers. I'm going to get into some of just my guys that I'm my personal favorite draft picks at each position. We're going to go through best and worst values in each round. We got a lot of content coming up. There's going to be at least 3 videos every single week throughout the course of the entire rest of the offseason. Going to be even more than that during the regular season as well. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's going to be a fun time, and if you stick around, we're going to win some championships together. So super stoked for all this. If you guys haven't watched the wide receiver, running back, and quarterback breakout videos, highly recommend you guys go watch those. They're on my channel as well. If you want to just help me out a little bit, if you made it this far in the video, give the video a thumbs up. It helps me out quite a bit, and just helps me know that you guys like the content and you want to see some more stuff like this. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun, guys. We've got a lot more coming, and I can't wait for football. We're getting closer and closer. I'll catch you at the next one, guys. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.